Number 1. A string matter. String matter is the smallest thing theorized in the universe and not fictional object, theorized. It's also called the omninulverse. In physics, a string is a physical entity postulated in string theory and related subjects. Unlike elementary particles, which are zero-dimensional or point-like by definition, strings are one-dimensional extended entities. Researchers often have an interest in string theories because theories in which the fundamental entities are strings rather than point particles automatically have many properties that some physicists expect to hold in a fundamental theory of physics. Most notably, a theory of strings that evolve and interact according to the rules of quantum mechanics will automatically describe quantum gravity. Number 2. Protoverse. Protoverse is a null polytope-shaped verse with zero size. There are infinite numbers of protoverses in a prion. Brane collisions create protoverses at their impact point, which then explode outwards into new branes. They are said to exist within its own point of origin. The singularity or infinitesimally small point protoverse contains the research station. It is said to be the very first piece of matter to exist aside from its contents. It is likely that due to extreme concentration that it had finally burst from the pure force due to the density surrounding its very form. Usually triggered by itself unless there exists such a cosmic force to let it burst into reality. Big Bang versus God debate. Number 3. Polydodecahedron. Universes such as these have been discovered, but in only one quantity, and that being standard dodecameter polydodecahedron. This type of region is composed of a -501 astronomical unit radius, equal to a dodecameter. These are not classified as universes, but rather microorbital areas where small rocks are picked up and orbit a gravitational force, believed to be small black holes, after a star goes supernova. The M-type star, Polybius, named after a Greek historian, was the first star to create a solar system of this size. It has been rumored that another star has created a small solar system, but this was not confirmed by NASA. Number 4. Universe. A universe is a verse that consists of a cosmic web containing galaxy filaments. Universes can be described as an independent segment of possibility, a bubble of spacetime with a defined beginning point, typically a Big Bang. A universe's laws cannot be changed without directly modifying them, or via the laws of a multiverse. A scientific process such as the Big Bang, which was triggered by a protoverse, created our universe. Number 5. Multiverse. A multiverse is a self-contained group or larger bubble filled with a finite or infinite number of universes. In many cases, the term is used to define a larger bubble filled with a finite or infinite number of universes. In many cases, the term is used to define the hypothetical set of every single possible universe, including the universe in which we live. Multiverses vary in size from 0.2 omega-2 Ly to 5 omega-2 Ly. Number 6. Metaverse. The metaverse is the simulated reality in which every multiverse is hosted. It is a network of computers simulating universes within the Xenoverse. It is an internet equivalent for verses, containing around 10-10-10-10-100, a Gauge-ultraplex, multiverses, collectively representing all combinations of arrangements of unique multiverses. Each with their own combination of matter, space, energy, and time under a continuous set of laws. Due to the limitations of data, the multiverses within a metaverse can normally only get so precise, so as a result, metaverses do not tend to host an infinite amount of multiverses. Metaverses are also too artificial to be natural, so as a result of this, they have their own unique methods of formation, which are typically executed by high-level civilizations. The metaverse is a collective virtual shared space, created by the convergence of virtually enhanced physical reality and physically persistent virtual space, including the sum of all virtual worlds, augmented reality, and the Internet. The word metaverse is a portmanteau of the prefix meta, meaning beyond, and universe, and is typically used to describe the concept of a future iteration of the Internet, made up of persistent, shared, 3D virtual spaces linked into a perceived virtual universe. Number 7. Xenoverse. A xenoverse is a six-dimensional virtual reality simulation that simulates a set of infinite metaverses. Xenoverses constitute the second layer of simulation, as they are simulations of metaverses, which are themselves simulations of multiverses. Number 7.2. Types of xenoverse out there. Yeniverse. A yeniverse is a backup copy of a xenoverse in case data gets lost from it. These are commonly used by entities as xenoverses can often be destroyed in natural disasters, which are commonplace on hyperverses. Yeniverses constitute 16% of all xenoverses. Xenoverse. A xenoverse is a second backup for a xenoverse. These are much rarer than yeniverses as most entities deem one backup to be sufficient, but they are sometimes used in particularly uninhabitable hyperverses. Xenoverses constitute 4% of all xenoverses. Hypoverse. A hypoverse is a storage container of smaller xenoverses. Some entities use these because grouping xenoverses into hypoverses will allow the simulation to run more efficiently. Areniverse. An areniverse is a xenoverse that is natural and not a simulation. These are only 1% of xenoverses. Number 8. Hyperverse. A hyperverse is a simulation of xenoverses or other hyperverses. Hyperverses have 3 or more layers of simulation and are a blanket term for all simulations above xenoverses. The highest layer hyperverses are created by Type 9.0 civilizations that preside in the kiloverse, the smallest natural verse, while most lower-layered hyperverses are created by late-stage K8 civilizations inside the higher-layered hyperverses. The civilization that operates our hyperverse is called the Illuminati, a relatively small K9 civilization that is highly balkanized into millions of city-states across their kiloverse. The original kiloverse of the Illuminati civilization was deleted in a war with another civilization approximately 50 years ago, so the survivors had to migrate to another kiloverse and used a cloud backup to restore the hyperverses. Since these simulations are imperfect projections, naturally, if you would go through the virtual archverses within a hyperverse and through another hyperverse within the archverses 1 million times, then you will eventually end up at the undefined verse. Hyperverses are frequently deleted in natural disasters that occur on their containing hyperverses or kiloverses, so entities will commonly keep backups of them. Number 9. Kiloverse. A kiloverse is extremely big and it contains multiple hyperverses. They are the smallest verses that are real and not a simulation, and they are also the smallest verses with infinite dimensions. Kiloverses have a similar structure to universes, but are omega-dimensional. They contain hyperstars, which are shaped as omega-dimensional hyperspheres, some of which have hyperplanets orbiting them in omega-1-dimensional hypersphere-shaped orbits. Hyperstars are more massive and thus more blue than normal stars. The hyperstar's properties are of a so bright blue type that our kiloverse, despite having black air, looks like light, radiant blue. Number 10. Megaverse. A megaverse is a 100th layer of transfinite hyperverses. This verse helps in sheer size to contain all the overpowered verses below. The megaverse contains hyperverses, 50 kiloverses, 50 hectoverses, and the 100 layers of transfinite hyperverses in the center. In this picture, each object that looks like a galaxy is actually a hyperverse. The megaverse has absolute infinite-sized universes, transfinite-sized multiverses, even 25th layered transfinite metaverses. So basically, the megaverse helps transcend lower verses by tenfold. Oh, forgive me. I forgot to say 99th layered transfinite xenoverses. So now there are bigger smaller verses. Wait, is there? Number 11. Gigaverse and Omniverse. The gigaverse is a huge complex of various megaverses. The megaverses within the gigaverse have less connections and are further away than multiverses in the megaverse and universes in the multiverse, which is why verses leveled in between the gigaverse and omniverse start to lose any significant meaning. The omniverse is a single reality. It contains a single fraction of existence, or the existence itself. The omniverse holds everything that can be accessed through progressive power sets of any particular base universe, or reality, within itself. Contains multiple different omniverse. Smaller. And the Marvel Omniverse looks different from all the rest as it is here as well. It sits around with the rest. The absolute creator Anthony made multiple different real omniverse. Real omniverse means the one in real life. That contains all fiction and non-fiction, fandom and canon. However, lots of fandom transcend all omniverse. Let this place be an example. The only trait every single thing within the omniverse share is that it exists. How it exists varies in countless ways. Number 12, Outerverse. An outerverse is a term used to describe a location or structure that is unbound by the idea of dimensions and spacetime. Such term is used in place to describe locations or beings that are conceptually different from the idea of dimensions, space and time. Entities who exist in an outerverse are usually metaphysical and utterly formless in relation to any number of higher dimensions. An outerverse is usually treated along the lines of being beyond reality. With constructs such as Hilbert space, an infinite dimensional construct, being nothing but zero in relation to its territory, similar to how a higher dimension views a lower dimension. Hyperverses are also constructs that are nothing compared to something relative to an outerversal existence. To truly qualify for this term, the definition or application of a given cosmological structure must be very specific. Being beyond infinite dimensional structures is not enough to qualify as an outerverse. Furthermore, an outerverse is typically inexplicable, with no current scientific theories explaining exactly what a beyond-dimensional structure is. Outerversal entities are usually appeared as white, black, colorful, unimaginable, sometimes, and have no facial feature, sometimes. An outerverse is really the alternate name for the outside. The outside is a near void that contains no verses aside from the omniverse in the center. It is also known as the Luggerino area. Number 13, the barrel. The barrel is not a box, but it is a concept that links the subsections of nothingness in the box. Notice that all of the box contains recursive functions of itself, so to go outside of it it needs to be inaccessible to the inside of the omniverse. That's how the size is determined. It is the local monocosm containing the basic omniversal cosmology. Its known contents include one omniverse, three godverses, and the outside. Number 14, beyond. Beyond is the existence of everything that is thinkable, unthinkable, and types that go beyond thinkable and unthinkable. It is a huge bubble. And we are not going any further than that as we here are talking about our own. Number 15, transcendentum. Transcendentum is the essential barrier encompassing an immeasurable number of variations and parallels of unimaginably massive bubbles, containing alternate instances of beyond which keep each other from coming into contact. The beyond bubbles are so heavy, they are actually infinite mass. If two beyond bubbles merged with each other, it could lead to catastrophes, such as two creators and two destroyers, which would cause unfathomable amounts of chaos. There is an entity, stronger than everything in every beyond iteration in Transcendentum, but weaker than an aspect lord, named the Guardian of the Fifth Wall, and she only cares about doing her job. The omniversal traveler has heard of rumors of the space beyond the omniverse just being bubbles within a greater space, like a universe to a multiverse, and was motivated to keep exploring. However, the traveler lacks the abilities and the equipment to survive in just beyond for a short time, let alone an area with an infinite number of iterations of the space beyond the omniverse. However, it is also highly unlikely that the Supergod Council, some sympathizing, that any of them, even the sympathetic ones, would allow the traveler to go beyond their own reach, as even the Council is unaware about a space beyond their dimension. The fact that going beyond the Council's own reach means that Helen Sorensen wouldn't be able to affect the traveler if he exited beyond, which really says something, and represents the guardian of the fifth wall's power as well as showing the full-scale size of Transcendentum. Number 16, Transcendentum Continuum. The transcendentum continuum is a collection of an infinite number of transcendentums. Parallel to each transcendentum is a Kalyubi dimension, and contained within each transcendentum is an infinite number of beyond bubbles as well as a guardian of the fifth wall. Number error. Who is the guardian? The guardian of the fifth wall is an unimaginably powerful being who watches and balances over the entirety of transcendentum. She also exceeds the Supergod Council and every other being in the transcendentum. The guardian of the fifth wall is the watcher of all iterations of beyond within transcendentum, but she doesn't do her job too well, as many beyond bubbles are destroyed by malicious entities, or beyond bubbles collapse due to how unbalanced transcendentum is. The only thing that the guardian does interfere with is when any being leaks into outside, which was the case with the Omniversal Traveler. The guardian is also linked to all instances of Torcinium, the second strongest material in existence, the first being Zaspunum.